Hey YouTube, we're back. This is my third attempt to make this video to demo how to set up the hardware portion to make a beat that I demonstrated already on YouTube. And so this is what the beat sounded like. Then we had a lead sound going like this. And then doing some glitches. So we're going to show how I set up this hardware to do that. So this is basically set up with three parts. So we got the key bed, we got the pads, and we got the encoders. So the encoders are endless encoders, so they don't just have a straight stop, minimum and max. They just turn and turn and turn. And so if we go to mixer and we look at channel 1 here, so you can kind of see if I just kind of turn what I can turn easily slowly, it does a pretty small, say -12 to -24. But if I go quickly, it can go all the way down to 0. So they are velocity sensitive. You can adjust that in settings, how exactly they react. So we've got our encoders, we've got our pads, and we've got our keys. And so I wanted to make a demo that showed just using the controller, not touching keyboard and mouse, not touching Ableton at all, but just actually only using the encoder. So one of the things I had to set up ahead of time was I needed to turn my click on and off so I could start the beat. So there we go. We can turn our click on and off in this custom mode. And normally you just press O on your keyboard. My keyboard's off camera. But normally you just hit O. But again, I wanted to use just the controller. So I actually made a setting, went into Novation Components, and selected the Mini Mark IV. So I'm going to go to pads mode because that's what I want, a custom setting for the pads in slot 1. And so here is the one that I set up. So you can see everything else is standard CC messages. But this pad that I chose, I just made it so that it does O. You see it's under keystrokes. And so I literally set up a custom mode. The only thing that's custom about it is this button. You can see when I go there, I made it to be yellow. Is presses just like hitting O on your keyboard. So that was how I got around doing that. And so that was the one way to, number one, use custom mode. You can actually have 4 custom modes for your pads, 4 custom modes for your encoders, and they can do pretty much any setting that you want to touch in Ableton. I've set up for live sets. I've set up pads to do tap tempo, all different things. Pretty much any button or slider or anything that you want to manipulate inside of. There's my dog trying to find his way around. There's pretty much anything that you want to control, you can control with very few exceptions inside of Ableton with these custom modes. So that was what I did in order to be able to do that. So I wanted to be able to use at least some of the custom features and modes that you get with the LaunchKey, aside from just being a standard controller. So this first track is just a clip. So I didn't use the controller really for anything for that except to just launch transport. And so this bass track I just played right on the keys. So nothing really spectacular there. So then we came over to the drums, and another thing, the way that I got from track to track, so after I just started with this percussion, I then put in the bass, and so next I went over, gotta be on DAW control, I just went over, and just to show what I'm doing, stop that for a second, you switch between the different pad modes by hitting shift and then going. So we've got DAW control, we've got drum mode, we've got user chord, and we've got chord map. And the same thing, these up here are the encoder modes. So we've got plugin control, mixer control, sends, transport, and then 4 customs. So to move through the tracks, I'm just using, it says here, track left and track right is a shift command. So when we're in DAW control, we can move between the tracks. And if you see the arm track button, which has, in order to record or even to hear what you're playing, that has to be set. So the way that you get it to move, actually I'll show one more thing. I don't know why there's not a record arm DAW selection. So in pad mode, you can go function, and you can have, stop track, mute track, solo track, and I'm just hitting this function button here on the right, and solo track, and clip launch. But I don't know why there's not an arm track function. But at any rate, there's not. So that's what we got to work with. So I had to actually look this up. It wasn't obvious to me. I knew I had done it before, and I knew it was possible. But you actually have to right-click on, I'm on PC, so these controls are going to be PC controls. You right-click, and you have to uncheck. I'm going to show you. See, it's checked now. But you uncheck this ARM exclusive. So what that does is it allows you, if you press Control, again on PC, you can actually arm multiple tracks. And so, but now you see if one track is selected and another, see I've got 2 armed here. Now when I move between them, see the arm track isn't moving with the selected track. So you actually have to only have one selected, and then it will move along with you. So this is the way you're able to go build up and just move track to track and have it keep arming and make it so you can do your loop and then move on to the next track. So then we moved over to the drums. So we had this going. So once I move over to the drum track, I go shift, drum, and that allowed us to put the beat in, the drum beat. So drum mode allows you to play this drum rack. And so the first 4 pads is this bottom row in the drum rack. Then it's the next 4 up. And then this next line starts over here again. So I feel like normally you have a 4x4. I guess not normally, but often there would be a 4x4 16 pad setup, and these pads would be kind of over these, so that way your open hat would be just here above your closed hat until you can get that. But you can still do it and just hit it with your pinky. It's kind of easier to just do it up, but whatever works. And so drum mode allows you to play with your pads, play a drum rack, and it's just like very straightforward. Once you learn where the major, almost always kick is here, snare is here, clap is often, a clap might often be there in a set, and a rim shot. Sometimes here is toms, which we have kind of a semi-open sound here and a tom here. Sometimes this is an alternate snare sound, but either way, this actually has some kind of fun sounds built into this particular drum rack. So all drum racks are different depending on how you set them up or the person that created it set up. So then we ended up with now percussion. We ended up with our bass, and now we have a drum sound. So next track, Go Over, it's now armed. And so I went user chord mode and just laid down this really simple, just to give us some, fill in the sound a little bit. So what user chord mode does is it allows you to create your own chords. So instead of playing just single notes, this is how it would be if it was just a single note, instead of having, and this is just a very simple chord. I don't know if you can see it here in the OLED, but it's just a fifth up. So it's just like playing this, but you only have to press one button. And, you know, from the factory, you get all these chords, your C major, your minor second, your minor third, your major fourth, your major fifth, and so on, up into a C5, which is the root, the fifth, and the octave. And so I created these just simple fifth chords to go along with the beat. And so you could create any chord if you just hold down the button that you want it to go into, and then you could just, like, I can make a C5 just like that, and it will just play it back. If you don't like it, boom, you just hit function, hit it again, delete it. And so you could make all types of complex chords, and if you're not an advanced keys player, you could just enter them all in here and just play it like that. And so it's a very good way to be able to make chords, make beats, make progressions. If you're not necessarily a proficient player, it really opens up other things you can do. So I didn't use chord map mode, but it's very cool. You can kind of have it on this side, play a chord. So there's a C major, and you can change your key, but you got your C major, and then these are alternates. So this is an ARP up, an inversion up, bass plus a chord. So you get these modifiers. So you could go, say, play your C, so that's pretty wild too. You know, just something else. Again, if you're not necessarily, it's a different way to make music. It's not a bad way to make music. It's not a wrong way to make music. It's tools that allow you to make music no matter what your skill level is at. And honestly, somebody that's trained classically on piano, this probably wouldn't come naturally to them. So, but for those of you that are into hardware, software, and kind of alternative ways of making music and making beats, this gives you some really awesome options. So, so one thing that I didn't use, but that is available, is the, why do I forget it every time? Not the ARP, but the sequencer. And so we can go shift to DAW, and it does clip mode by default, but then it allows us to get into a sequencer. And so if I actually go and back and arm my drum track and then select this second clip, so now we've got something running here. Gonna go octave down. There's my kick. And so there's no drums in the track right now, so we could just go 4 on the floor right here. Here's our snare. So we put our snare on 2 and 4. This is obviously classic 4 on the floor. Add a couple more snares on the end there for variety and flavor. Here's our closed hat, so we could just go, we could do, get some of that action going. So that's a great, quick alternative. We could throw a, find my, I don't know where my open hat is. Oh, that's it, I guess. Or symbol, I guess. Either way, we've got, so now we've got that option. So now we can go back to DAW, go back to clip mode. We can go back to the other more groove drum beat. And then we could go right back into this 4 on the floor. So that's very awesome. This is working directly in Ableton. If I double click on this clip, our MIDI is in here. I'm going to hit fold, and that's only going to show the things that have notes. So there it is, all in Ableton, all those notes that the actual sequencer is playing. And so now that's in there as a clip. You could actually change the drum sounds or do it with something different. And so that's a very cool feature out on the Mark IV. So we got the OLED screen to be able to kind of show us what we're doing. We've got a sequencer and got some other great modes to work with. So another thing that had the opportunity to do is on this lead part using the encoders. Actually, we have this playing. So we've kind of got a stutter on here. So I set up some macros, and I'll be showing this in the Ableton tutorial. So I'm showing the hardware setup first, but then I'll be showing the software setup and how I actually set these tracks up in Ableton and some of these other behind the scenes things. So I wanted to get a stutter going, so I wanted to, you know, start it. So then we can turn on the stutter and get this glitch going on this arpeggiator. So all I'm doing is arpeggiator is just going back and forth between these two notes, and I'm sometimes adding this bass note in, which is giving us kind of a glitch, and then just pitching it up 12 steps randomly too. So that is like a really fun way to just start messing with some glitches and using the controllers and really feeling like you're getting that tactile feel instead of just using the mouse, you know, and also use the encoders to do kind of the final washout. And so we just like raise this reverb way up, and then just stop transport and just kind of wash it out and let it hang. So that's the way to use some of these modes in the hardware, how to switch tracks, how to be able to, you know, build up and be able to use custom modes without ever having to touch mouse and keyboard. And there's, as you find your favorite sounds, then you can do all kinds of things with this simple controller. I say simple. It is one of the most compact but feature-filled controllers there are. And I had the Mark III, and now I got the Mark IV, and they're just fantastic. They come with Ableton Live Lite, and so everything that I'm playing here is nothing added. It's just what comes in the box, and it's just a great tool. So look forward to seeing you over on the Ableton software tutorial, and appreciate those likes and subscribes. Appreciate you so much. Bye.